Hey, welcome back, fam. You're listening to another episode of the Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, as always, Steve. Being joined by this knucklehead over here, my man Zach Burr here.
You know you love me, Steven. You know you love me. I'm entertaining. I'm good looking. I just bring it all. I'm the total package.
Hey, we all got something to bring to the table here tonight, and we got a jam-packed show for you. We're going to be talking some Phillies, some Flyers. We're going to be talking to Bellator veteran and bare knuckle boxer fighter, however you want to call that, Mr. David the Cavemen Rickles, and obviously we're going to be previewing the Eagles matchup with the Washington football team, and any other. We'll also be touching on some NFL news and notes from around the league as well. But we're going to get this one started, and we're going to be doing our. We're being brought to you by our doc, make him your doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton locations. Find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. And we're gonna get right into it. We gotta got some things to discuss with these Philadelphia Phillies right here. Obviously, right, guys? And
it seems like a never-ending discussion with them, doesn't it?
Yeah, but again, we've seen them kind of plunder here again, and we're going to go be getting with the poll question. But before we get to the poll question, the poll question is brought to you by Ambuck Services. That's AMBUCK Services.com. Call Michael Ambrose. Tell him A2D sent you 20% off cutters, anything around your house. Got you covered. AmbuckServices.com. And that poll question is, will this Phillies bullpen prevent them from a playoff berth? Forget about the division. It's not happening at this point. As much as I love this team, as much as they're knocking on the door, this team's averaging, like 6 runs a game and still finding ways to lose in these later innings. It's rough. It's really rough. But what is your thought on the poll question here?
Well, I think I made it very clear, when we talked about leading up to the trade deadline, what this team needed to do in order to have a serious shot at the playoffs, and we talked about adding bullpen arms. I got all excited over David Phelps. I thought, solid bullpen arm, what a great acquisition that is, and this guy's flat out stunk since he became a Philly. So this was the one thing that was supposed to help a playoff run, and it's not helping shit at the moment. So it's our Achilles heel. I don't know, I would say our bullpen's been our weakest spot of this team since the start of the year. That was what was going to cost us a playoff spot then, and it's what's going to cost us a playoff spot now. It's completely irresponsible that Matt Klentak and the Phillies front office allowed this to happen, going into a year where everything else, all the other pieces were there for you at least to be a playoff team, and you can't even put capable bullpen arms out there. And we're not talking about holding 1 or 2 run leads. I mean, they've given up some big leads this year. They've just given up some ridiculous leads. Games that I think every year you look at it in leagues, you say these are games that you can't lose, and we've already had too many of them. A 7-run lead that you give up and let another team come back and beat you.
There's absolutely no.
You can't let that happen. Those games cannot happen.
And you got to think about it. I think over the past week, that the bullpen has given up like some insane 22 earned runs and the homers. I think is at least 10 of them. You just can't do that in the late innings. Cannot do that even over a 5-game span. That's still ridiculous.
Yeah, I think we're both having a couple of little connection issues here. It's raining where I'm at down here in Florida, so I don't know if it's messing anything up.
You've been a little choppy for the first few minutes here, brother.
Yeah, we've got some thunderstorms in the air. It's Florida, and it's still summer, and it rains almost every night here at some point. So I guess just bear with me if we're having some issues. But
right, brother, we'll get it.
There's nothing we can do now. Stephen, we had this conversation before the deadline. There was at least you could do then. You could try to bring in some arms. There's nothing we can do now. We're stuck with what we have.
They made moves, but even when they've made the moves that they made, these guys that have come in, they haven't been
any good.
And we're only talking about a small sample size here, but that we're only talking about a small sample size inside of a shortened season, and we can't be having
everything's a small sample size this year. The whole season's a small sample size almost.
I know,
You know?
and that's what I'm kind of getting to there, because there's no room for it right now. We can't have it.
I think we acquired 4 bullpen arms. I think this was the number that was out there. They showed the 4 bullpen guys that we've acquired this year, and it showed their ERA since being with us, and just how ugly it really is. I guess the only thing you can look at it is it can't get worse, right? So the only thing that can happen is it can get better. What do you think it's possible it could actually get even worse than it is?
I mean, I can't imagine it getting any worse.
Yeah, it can only go up, right? So
right now, we're probably in the bottom of the barrel of as the bullpen is, as far as Major League Baseball is concerned. Forget about the National League.
We're one of the worst bullpens in baseball history right now. So, that's, I guess the positive look at that is we're still in the hunt. We're still right there in the mix. And the one thing that's been our Achilles heel all year, yeah, it sucked. Yeah, we've lost games because of it, but it hasn't hurt us to the point where we're not, in contention, at the moment. We've found a way to stay in contention even with the bullpen being as bad as it is. So if we try to be glass half full, which I know is hard for us to do here in Philly, it's not us. That is not our personality. But if you're trying to find a positive in all of it, if it can't get any worse and it can only get better, that means we're still in decent shape because we have enough time to gain ground. We're only a few games out. But if it's going to change and get better, that's got to happen in a hurry. It can't. We're 2 weeks into September here. How much longer is it going to take? From this point forward, starting today, that bullpen has got to turn into one of the better bullpens in baseball. And is that type of transition possible overnight? Are we being too optimistic with that?
It cannot happen overnight with this team. It cannot.
Right. And it's September 12th, so it's not like we can sit here and say, okay, well, they got a couple weeks to figure it out. No, they maybe have a couple days to figure it out. It's one of those things where if it's going to change, it's got to happen now, and it's got to start trending upwards now and stay that way for the rest of the year. It's probably asking a lot, to be honest. If we're trying to be realistic now and not be glass half full, that's probably asking a lot. A bullpen that struggles to put away teams in late innings, baseball teams do not win. You don't win in baseball with a bullpen that struggles to get outs in late innings. It's every team that has that issue, they end up with the same fate. So as much as I want to be the glass half full guy, it's not happening. It's not happening with this bullpen. It's not happening with this group of guys. Nothing is going to change unless all of a sudden you put Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler in the back of your bullpen, which obviously isn't going to happen. They're the only two guys that seem to be able to pitch with any type of consistency. And Zach Wheeler, who, as much as we love that the signing, and it's still a great signing, the guy's had an injury history that's, amongst, one of the scarier in baseball. And now this dude, he ripped his fingernail? Is that what I read? By trying to.
That was probably the funniest.
Putting on a pair of pants?
I've heard all week. All right, because most anyone who knows baseball knows most pitchers have that kind of index.
Yeah, they go and get manicures, things like that.
So they have it a little bit longer so they can dig into the ball. And I'm thinking he was pulling his pants up and either kind of dragged it against his leg, whatever, and kind of ripped the
I'll tell you, those compression shorts that you can put the cup in and all that. The certain ones, I know from umpiring, we wearing them You can catch some unclipped fingernails and shit in there quite easily. I mean, yeah, maybe. My first thought was, what did he pull a Ben Stiller from Something About Mary and get it caught in his zipper? I was is that what happened here? That would be when we tried to zip it up and just didn't get the, everything just kind of got caught in there together. It seemed like an ugly scene. That's kind of putting on pants. That was I don't know if maybe I'm a weirdo, but that was my first thought. I'm his dick and his finger and everything else, we kind of it all became an issue as he tried to get the pants on, and maybe I could see how that happened. Who hasn't gotten their hand, wrapped around and tangled up in there trying to put on pants once or twice? I'm just saying. But it's
we've all like like either your skin here or you've caught in your finger.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I'm getting at here. But
that's
how the fuck can this happen in the middle of a playoff race? God damn it, Steven. This is the type of stuff that only happens in Philly sports. This is why we can't have nice things. Shit like this always happens.
I'm not even gonna deny the fact. Like, listen, weird things happen in this city to our sports teams, our players that we cannot explain. We've seen all kinds of crazy. You see, guys. You guys got the right pick, and then just somehow it just either doesn't develop or there's injuries or just whatever happens, and that's why a lot of fans are kind of apprehensive about some of these draft picks.
Of course,
and it doesn't.
But that's why I tell people:
the Flyers, the Sixers, the Eagles, etc. It doesn't matter. It's still it's a crapshoot because. There's probably one organization we could probably trust to make draft picks, and it's definitely not our favorite, any of the favorite ones either.
No, I mean, if you look around each pro sport, you probably single out 2 teams, maybe 3 at the most in each sport, where you're like, wow, their front office nails it every single year, don't they? Like, there's maybe only 2 or 3 in every single sport, so. We might be asking a lot to sit there. Oh, why can't we be them? Well, there's only 2 or 3 of them for a reason because, not everybody can be them. But, we talked about it last week a little bit. Like when the Ravens every single year, and it doesn't seem to matter who's running things in that front office, who the guy is. I know Ozzie Newsome was the guy there for a long time. He's no longer there. They've had a couple different guys. But they bring in, it's not like they've had the same scout in place for, the past 20 years. But for the past 20 years, no matter who's scouting in that front office, no matter who it is that's in charge of making those decisions, they find a way to nail on, 3 draft picks at the very minimum every single draft. And we can't hit on one sometimes. I mean, we saw the thing that was going around, how disappointing and just like ridiculous was that 2017 draft, where you looked at how many guys from that 2017 draft either are cut from the NFL and not in the league at all, or aren't on this team in general. I think we have one guy that still remains on this team in general from that 2017 draft.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Did you see the same thing I saw with that?
I mean, yeah, but that we'll get into that one a little bit later there, Zach.
Okay.
I know you're salivating on
Hey, football's tomorrow, dude. We're all salivating, let's be honest. Opening day, you can't. I mean, people are trying. The whole city's salivating, not just me.
Well, and that's the other thing. We'll get into that all that in the minute on what we think about how everyone's getting ready for this football season. What are your thoughts on it? Do you feel that the energy is the same as it been in other seasons? But I guess we'll get moving on and touch on the end of the Flyers season. I'm going to kick it off. Fuck you, Zach. You gave us bad juju.
I also gave you guys somebody to blame and like somebody that they take direct responsibility for this whole thing if you didn't win. So you're welcome, Philadelphia. I'll be your lightning rod of hate.
No. But I mean, we can take some solace into the Lightnings are giving a nice good thumping to them right now. So
yeah, that series got interesting. I mean, it's a little bit closer than it. The Islanders made it 2-1 last night. Did you see the hit from the Lightning guy that got him suspended for Game 3? I understand the game misconduct, but like in the playoffs, we're suspending people for that.
I mean, if you do that, like unless it's really like a severe thing where the guy's running at him, I think you should tack that on the beginning of next season or something like that.
Why is it even a suspension? It got a game misconduct.
Take away their playoff their playoff bonuses or whatever, like something to that effect. Don't affect the game to the point where I mean, granted, he should be punished. I'm not sitting there saying that, but I'm saying
he was ejected from the game. And then you can give him a heavy fine if you want to give him a fine. But in the playoffs, we're really suspending him. This is weaker than the Draymond suspension from the NBA Finals a couple years ago.
Put that on the next season or something like that, man. Come on.
Sure. Yeah. Anything. If you're really that fixated on a suspension, absolutely.
But the Flyers, obviously,
See how I tried to get it away from the Flyers as quick as I could because I was I know people are going to start ripping me here and I'm going to have to just let it happen and eat it.
Yeah, I know you're trying to get off him, bro. We'll have next week to discuss what's actually going on with the rest of the NHL playoffs, Stanley Cup Finals, etc. You have to look at it like this. It was progress. As I was sitting there saying, we were playing with house money at that point in time. No one thought that. A lot of teams thought, people, pundits, experts thought, playoff team, one and done type team. We got in a lot of great stuff from our young guys. This team, it can take this experience, move forward. They know how to win a playoff series. They know what it's going to take to win in the playoffs moving forward. You have freaking our incredible Hulk as a goalie, man. He's still learning on the job as well. He's still under 25 years old. It's freaking amazing that what we've seen out of this kid so far. Hopefully he can continue that upward trend. We get Morgan Frost on the ice. We get Nolan Patrick back. We get some of these other guys. You have to figure out something to do with some of these contracts, with some of these guys who aren't really performing anymore. I've said it once before. I've said it once. And I'll say it again. I really think you need to find some way to get Claude Giroux out of Philadelphia. He's done great things for us. He's been in some big moments for this team. But I think it's time to kind of move on from him to try to find someone else. Another voice in the locker room. Maybe let Couturier take the C, or Voracek take the C, and wait till some of these other guys continue to develop to become leaders on this team.
If you can get rid of Giroux,
and even more so, even if not, like maybe even someone like one of the big up and coming defensemen, like we got who's our Russian star? I'm forgetting his name at the moment.
I'm not going to be able to tell you. Like I watch Flyers hockey.
But I mean, besides the point, man, we have both young, good young defensemen and young forwards coming. We need guys that can put the puck in the net. And over the past few seasons, Claude Giroux just haven't been able to do it. Now, that's not sitting there saying that he hasn't given us things in other areas where he's been making meaningful contributions to this team. And at the end of the day, I just think it's kind of one of these things where you have to move on. You have to find a way to get younger. And, we've got with them getting this experience this season, I think it makes it easier to do. I mean, I know they're also in another cap situation. Some of these guys' contracts are really hard to move. I get that aspect of it, but you have to continue to get this team younger, continue to get them guys who can continue to produce and put the puck in the net. You have some great guys that are here, but there's some guys like JVR, like Giroux. I mean, I think Voracek still gives you something, but he still disappears too much. You have to figure out if you're going to bring Hayes back. I mean, there's some guys' contracts that are coming back, so you have to figure out what you're going to do on top of being cap strapped. That's why you have to say you're going to have to make trades to compensate, because some of these guys you're not going to be able to resign, and you're going to have to figure out the fill holes and continue to get better. So it's going to be a really interesting offseason for what the Flyers could do. Zach, what do you think? Do you think they move forward next season, and do you think they move on from any of the marquee names they have on their roster?
I'm not going to try to sit here and make a prediction like that, as far as, pretending like I pay enough attention to that whole situation to know how the organization, and the direction they might want to go. But if I'm just looking at it from, I obviously don't watch as much Flyers hockey as you guys. I see what's on the Nationals, the national games and some of the highlights and stuff like that. So I from what I see with it and what I've seen from a long time, from what I did watch, probably haven't watched consistently in about 5 years or so, but it's probably, very similar to the same thing I would have said then, as far as, when your best player is Claude Giroux, Claude Giroux's not a bad player, but you saw, and we talked, what did we say going into Game 7? You asked me who needs to be their best player tonight. I said, well, if your best player is Claude Giroux, then Claude Giroux needs to be your best player. And where was he in Game 7? You lost 5-0, There's got to come a point where you find a way. I don't know if it's Giroux, if it's moving some of the defensemen you talked about. Would you trade a couple of those young guys, and Nolan Patrick and somebody? Would you find a way to move a couple pieces to bring in a legitimate superstar, a legitimate offensive playmaker, a guy that, is actually able to, like you said, when we need somebody to go put the puck in the net, he can take it and go put the puck in the net at will if he wants to. Hey, we need a goal, boom. I'm going to get you that goal because I can score goals, at that rate if I want to. Is there a guy out there to get? Is there a guy available to get? You would probably know that situation better. Is there a free agent?
I wouldn't think you would have too many people who are available to try to do that. I don't think there's a whole lot of teams wanting to get rid of players of that caliber. So you really have to find something to do, whether you put some picks in it or whatever. But it's also, like I said, it's
more likely in a trade than it is finding a free agent, is what you're saying there. You'd have to find a way to put together an enticing trade package to somebody with a couple guys that probably good young players, a couple draft picks, and maybe a big contract, in the hope that you can get.
And we got Ted over here. He's like, we need
who back in return, though.
Get rid of Jake. Is going to help us with that. That would that would be counterproductive. But right now you have to think Carter Hart is the best player on this team, and
absolutely, and he's the one guy that's untouchable.
Also,
he's the one guy that you're not even thinking about moving.
But that's
what I mean.
That's great in a sense, but also that can't be, dude. It cannot be. He cannot.
He can't be your only untouchable piece. You need to have better players than that, is what you're saying. If he's your only untouchable piece, you're in trouble.
Goalie can't do everything, man. As much as I love him.
No, I mean, I'm with you. You can ride a hot goalie a long way, but he can't be your end-all, be-all, especially at 21 years old. Especially at 21.
Provorov is one of these guys that he's really stepped up the last few years, since coming up, and I really like his play. I really like what he does those intangible things. So really gonna see how much he moves forward. And we still got guys like Haig and we have to see what TK does this year. He might be one of those guys that maybe entices a team to make a trade, to lose a guy like TK, which would hurt. Don't get me wrong, but
if you could bring in a 40 goal a year scorer, 45 goal a year scorer, somebody like that, it's worth it.
You have to do something to make a change. As much, like I said, as much as I love those guys, and it's going to be really hard to do. Like I said, money wise, but
you're convinced that this current group, as it is right now, this is the best they can be. They're not going to.
Yeah, I think
any further than this.
I really do. I really think that what's constructed, and that's it. So
this is the best it can be. So what's the point? If this is the best you can be, what's the point of trying to be this again? You might as well take some chances, make some changes, and see if you can actually, improve or find something that makes you better.
Did he just say that? Did I just
throw in Giroux, Voracek draft picks to get a really good player like a Crosby?
He just said that.
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous nonsense.
You could have said Ovechkin. I would have been less irritated about that. Considering that, if I remember correctly, isn't Ovechkin kind of due for a contract? So wouldn't that make more sense in that way?
But I'll say, if
player but still,
if we wanted to
here, that's a no-fly zone.
Remember when the Capitals traded? Remember when the Capitals traded for TJ Oshie a few years ago? You know what I mean? And they brought in a guy that He's not, maybe he's not a superstar in this league, but he's a guy that can put the puck in the back of the net, and be that guy for you when you need him to be that guy. Like, if the Flyers could even pull off a trade like that, to bring in a guy like that, maybe not a bona fide superstar, but at least a guy that's a bona fide goal scorer in this league. Like, that's his role. He's a goal scorer. That's what he does.
As Anthony alluded to, you would need Giroux, Voracek.
Well, that's fine. Would you be okay with putting Giroux and Voracek in that deal? I mean, it seemed to me, I think I would be. But, I mean, I'm not a diehard like you are. Like, would you? Is that worth it to you?
But the question is, what do you have to get rid of? Who are you getting? And do you have enough prospects in your system to fill the other needs that they're going to be missing out while losing, 2 to 3 players just to get one? And you're probably going to have to lose a free agent.
Sure. So, I mean, if that's the case, then you want it to be a bona fide superstar. You don't just want a TJ Oshie, from a few years back. You want a guy that's a legitimate franchise changer, if you will.
It would be nice, but I think it's the only way you're going to be able to get those guys out of here to kind of get some of these younger guys to kind of step into some of those roles and be able to do that. But
I'm just trying to see if there's any news on Google at all that would NHL free agency, anything like that, like big names that were available.
We got a couple ones in here. Taylor Hall is a free agent. Hoffman's a free agent.
Taylor Hall probably excited me a lot more 5 years ago than he does now.
You could also give Barzio offer sheet. So I mean, those are all real options we could do. I mean,
if we can get Crosby for Jake and G in this bizarro world trade, let's trade TK for McDavid.
I already said trade. Connor McDavid will kind of be the ideal guy you would want to get, packaging all them guys up.
Now, if you could get a Connor McDavid, hell, I'd sell the whole team. I mean, you can have our farm system if you want. Like, you now own the Adirondack Phantoms or whatever the fuck their name is now. Like, they're yours. Like, fuck us. Like, you just give us Connor McDavid in a bag of hockey pucks.
Yeah,
it's a deal.
Send Giroux back to Canada. He can retire up there, and he can go play for the Oilers, and we can have the next great goal scorer of the next 10 years. I'll take that.
Dude, that would be like groundbreaking. And you know what would be so fucking stupid is I hear all these Philadelphia people talk shit about a guy like McDavid because they hate superstars that don't play in their city.
I don't think
they hate superstars that don't play in their city, but the minute he became a Flyer, y'all would be buying his jersey.
I don't think there would be a minute Edmonton to ever entertain that idea.
No, I mean that's exactly. Although here is an article.
Nobody trades superstars anymore, and he's right. Nobody trades superstars anymore. There has to be a rift between team and player to make that happen.
It'd be a really poorly run organization. Although here's an article, Steven, just to get your hopes up for March. And it says if the Oilers traded Connor McDavid, these 5 trades could work.
I absolutely remember that. I remember that draft. I remember the whole nine. When we got that Lindros trade in the 90s, when we gave up 4 players picks, that whole thing to go get Eric Lindros. They got Forsberg. They got freaking Hextall. They got, all these guys. But I think the 2 other players were still wound up successful players in the NHL for more than a handful of years. So it's one of these things where, I remember that trade, but how often does that happen? It's once in a blue moon, and I don't think the Flyers would be able to pull something like that off as much as that. I would want them to.
Well, yeah, of course. I was just trying to be funny, get your hopes up, because apparently there is things out there, at least when you Google it, that talk about, a lot of Connor McDavid possibilities. There's the ones that talk about him being traded to the Maple Leafs in for next year. This is from like last month. So, hey, maybe there's something there, Steven, you don't know about. You talked about rifts with teammates and organizations. Steven, what would you trade realistically if it was just like, if we're having fun to play like a fantasy game of, build your fantasy trade for Connor McDavid. What are you trading from the Flyers? Like what realistically here? Like name your trade if you're going to go get a guy like McDavid. Let's see if his Flyers stands off.
And just the tip is absolutely right. Eric Lindros coming back out of retirement before the Oilers would ever trade Connor McDavid. Absolutely.
Well, probably you would hope so, right? I mean, you would hope an organization's not that stupid to trade a talent like that, but I've seen dumber. I've seen worse. You would have said that about Cleveland with LeBron early on, too, and then they found a way to not be able to put anything around him to make it so that it got to the point of no return. So
it's rough, man. When you get those situations where you have these things where player and management can no longer continue, you have to do something like that.
Flyers, I mean, imagine how happy the city of Philadelphia becomes with a talent like McDavid, though. But as the one guy said, those are guys that you have to draft that talent. You can't ever go and find that talent. It's like guys like that don't ever become free agents, right? Like they're not, at the very least, they're going to sign a deal and then get traded in some type of sign and trade so you get something back. So how do you draft a guy like that without having one of the top few picks? How do you find a guy like that in hockey, with the 25th pick in the first round or something? Giroux was what? Giroux was like the 28th pick? So you can find good players that in the late first round like that, but what are the chances of you actually finding a bona fide superstar? Do you know, as far as all the best players in hockey, the chances of somebody being drafted late first, late second, something like that, and actually being able to, find a guy that becomes a bona fide stud.
Yeah, but Ralphie's telling me our guest is in the back, and he should be joining us in a minute. So we're gonna get ready to kind of switch gears here real fast because our guest for the afternoon, Mr. David Cavemen Rickles, is David. How we doing, brother?
What up, man?
Yeah, like, gee, we've got a guy. I didn't think anybody was going to be able to upstage us in like, with the beard game, but we've got a guy here that he wins.
Easy work, bro. I've been doing this a long time.
The Caveman, the nickname fits. It's perfect.
Sure.
Oh man. So it's been a while since me and you caught up, Dave. So, how things been with you? Like, you have a lot of things going on. You're a business owner and all that. So, COVID's probably been obviously a thorn in your side for a little bit. So, how are things with you business-wise right now? How's everything going?
Yeah. As far as COVID goes, like, I am a business owner. I own car washes. I own my own league, fight league here locally. So we haven't been able to do shows, which has set us back a little bit in dough. And then I had a fight canceled on 24 hours, actually, the bare knuckle in March.
Yeah, I remember that.
Didn't get to weigh in or nothing, you know what I mean? So that really sucked. Obviously, that hit my pockets a little bit. And outside of that, man, I'm really lucky. I've been a little smarter than some of these other fighters and ventured into owning my own businesses to get different income. So, it's really saved my ass this time of year.
Hey man, it's one of those things where you got to thank God that you're one of these guys who, like, didn't think of fighting as this way, like flashy, like I'm this guy, I'm going to go spend all this money. We're one of these practical men who are like, hey man, we got to put it into this and that to make sure that you have other means of income. Like people don't understand what it's like with how professional fighters have to go through for fight to fight. If you don't have that other means of income, you're in a whole world of trouble.
Yeah, for sure, man. I was lucky I had good mentors, like going through the fight game and stuff. Like one of the first things that I was told from one of my mentors, Joe Wilk, he was kind of veteran here in the area. But he told me, that my goal should be extra income. You know what I mean? Like that should be icing on the cake of what I'm making. And I've been lucky to like kind of set up my life that way. And I just the right people around me, right time, right businesses. They could have failed. They haven't. They've been going good. So a lot of good things going.
Yeah, man, and as far as combat sports go, everything's been crazy. The last few days, we had Bellator last night. Bare knuckle boxing was last night.
Yeah.
We got Bellator again tonight. Another UFC fight tonight. So our combat sports fans have a full plate this weekend for sure.
Yeah, I'm just really happy, man, that fights are kind of popping off again. You know what I mean? And not just the UFC. Like, it's. I want to see all these companies do well because that means fighters are going to be getting paid. So,
yeah, I'm one of these ones where I've never been one of these guys who are like I just watch one promotion. I'm a fan of athletes who put on performances regardless of what the promotion name is. That is irrelevant to me. As long as I'm seeing good fights, regardless if we're talking about top of the food chain MMA with UFC, Bellator, etc., or if we're talking about the regional scene.
Yeah.
That has always been my thing. That's why I love talking to these guys as they're coming up. I had just had Dawkins on. I remember interviewing him before right after his first professional fight. So it's one of these things. Love watching these guys grow up and become professional fighters. So you never know who you may talk to. You may cover some guy before making his amateur debut. 5-6 years from now, that guy's going to be a premier player in one of these big promotions. You never know how it works out.
Yeah, I grew up with like Anthony Smith, Drew Dober, James Krause, all these dudes that are doing big shit right now. So it's like hella cool to see, honestly. Like it's so weird because we all used to train together and like all of us were nobodies. So it was super cool. And obviously you want to see people that you train with, people that you like in general do well. So
it's always good to see good people succeed. Not everyone has to eat at your table, but it's good to see people who are around you who who shed that blood, sweat, and tears with you, be able to kind of get their own piece of the pie, because you guys can only get it for a small period of time.
Right, for sure, man. And I've been fortunate enough, like a lot of the guys that I've trained with have ended up doing, pretty big things. So it's cool.
Yeah, and speaking of bare knuckle boxing last night, what do you think of last night's fights? Thiago had to fight Lane on short notice.
Yeah.
That became a really fun fight.
I thought that was a damn good
Lorenzo's
fight.
knockout was brutally insane. I love that knockout.
Ooh, yeah, that was
beautiful.
He smacked that dude. Yeah. He kept up, getting his chin back like this, and I was like, in my head, I was like, it's a matter of time before he gets caught with a bad right hand, and sure enough.
Yeah, Hunt laid that wood on him. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful right hand.
I was honestly like, it's funny though. You can really see from the early card to the late card, like how much the fights change from like brawling to like technicians, like people that are actually skilled. Mm-hmm. Well, to a degree, you know what I mean? It's a bare knuckle brawl, but the Thiago fight, man, he had his hands high. He's putting together combos, looking for body shots, dropping his levels, moving his feet. He was never in one spot. I was super impressed.
Yeah, it was kind of his kind of like coming out party for bare knuckle boxers. So it was really interesting to see some of these guys who transition over from high level MMA over to bare knuckle boxing. You're one of these guys. I think if I heard the rumors correctly, you're starting to get some fight news coming soon, right?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be fighting here next month, October 10th. Not where I'd like to. My city here in Kansas is Wichita, and we were supposed to have our event here, but because of COVID and everything, they've had to push the event to a small city outside of here called Salina. But I'm still gonna have my people there. Said I'm gonna be there no matter what, and I can't wait to get in there, man. I've had 3 fight camps fall through during this whole shit, man. So I'm itching to be in there.
Yeah, and I guarantee you last night kind of really got that blood flowing for more, man. We're seeing them guys go in there, Dayer looked pretty good to me. Got another knockout. He probably might. I mean, he should be in line getting soon to making maybe a contender fight to see if he's ready to fight for a title soon.
Who is that?
Dayer.
I'm sorry?
Dayer. Josh Dayer.
For what? Bare knuckle?
Yeah, he had another knockout last night. Yeah, right.
Oh shit! I must have spaced that. Where was he at on the card? What weight?
I think he was like 3rd or 4th fight.
Okay, what weight?
He fought Jared Warren.
All right, I'll have to check it out, man. It's dope. I can go rewatch the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, no, it was the first time they got the app up and going. I think Feldman made a post today that they were like one of the top 20 apps in North America.
That. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
They're starting to make some noise there. Not a whole lot of people have kind of come around the bare knuckle boxing and really know what it is. Some people
it's gonna take a little time, and honestly, more than that, it's gonna take a big signing, man. Like, dude. This sport would change overnight if a Diaz brother was signed. You know what I mean? Like, people would fucking fall in love with this shit, but it's just not. It's not cool. It's not mainstream yet. Like, you know what I mean? So
I think when everything's said and done, when their contracts get done with the UFC, I would not be surprised one bit to see if they kind of go, because that's more along their game anyway.
Bro, they would make $1 million easy doing that. Like, imagine how many people would tune in to watch either one of the Diaz brothers fight on a bare knuckle card? Like, I mean, I just feel like that kind of fight would really change the landscape and get eyes. They
already got some guys there. We already see Hector Lombard do his thing. We've seen some named guys in there.
For sure. I mean, and they're big name guys. I'm a pretty big name coming from Bellator, had a good following. And I think like a lot of us fighters would want to do it because the shit's dope. Like, I really think it's amazing. Of course, I haven't been in there yet. I might change my tune real quick.
That first punch might change your mind, Dave.
Yeah, it's very possible. I don't think it will, but I've been watching it for a little while now, and like I would prefer to watch bare knuckle over anything else right now.
I mean, we all like I said, when it comes to combat sports, like some people love it, some people hate it, and within combat sports, we still have kind of our own little groups inside of it because it's just there's so many different things to kind of consume, regardless if you're a sports jiu-jitsu guy or if you're just a bare knuckle boxing guy, a boxing guy, or if you're just the MMA guy. And people forget like there's a whole Muay Thai community too. It's crazy.
Yeah, as far as MMA goes, like I said, most of the time I just watch the Diaz brothers and then my friends. Like if a Conor McGregor jumps on, I'm gonna watch that. Hey, if Brock Lesnar jumps on, I'm gonna watch that. But outside of that, as far as MMA goes, like I really just watch my friends, like James.
I mean, yeah, that's what I got to ask you, Dave, because you guy who's been involved in MMA, you're in bare knuckle boxing. Is it kind of like you kind of fallen out of love with some of the parts of MMA and just bare knuckle boxing kind of more speaks to who you are now?
Would I say that that's true? Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest factors was like in my last fight, I got grapple fucked, like held down the whole fight and got frustrated. And that's my fault. I know that. Like that's part of MMA. I'm not saying he did the wrong thing and he should have standed up and bang. But what I'm saying is like I prefer to stand up and bang. So if I can go somewhere and just do that, then that's what I'm gonna do.
And you're one of these guys that also like
let me bang, bro. Julian Lane, let me bang.
Speaking of which, so who's one of these guys that either A is on the roster that you would like to see yourself get matched up with, or B, who's someone that you would like to see outside of, that you would call out and say, hey, like let's go have some fun.
Dude, hey, sign me up for when Diaz comes over. Shit, 75, let's go. Hey, I don't give a shit. Let's run it. But honestly, like I've been watching. Like, so what did Thiago fight last night? Was that 95?
I'm not sure what the weight was. Like
I'm fighting at 175, and I've been trying to figure out like who's even in that weight class, and I haven't really seen anybody. Like I think that Joe dude that fought last night was in that weight class. I mean, I'm not. I haven't been impressed with anyone I've seen so far. So, I mean, they're fun to watch. I just think I'm better. So, I don't know. I just got to see. Like, I don't know who's at 75. That's like, you know what I mean? Like name wise.
Yeah, well, because it's one of these things where you're kind of in a relatively new sport, so you're still trying to get your bearings in it. Yeah.
Just because somebody fought at one weight class in MMA, like we're seeing that they're like, I used to fight at 55. I'm fighting fucking 75. Like I'm big now, son. So like, yeah, no one's fighting in the same weight classes, so it's hard to know where people are at.
And is that another thing that
weight classes, man? Because my whole career at 55, I've been walking around at 185, 190, cutting down to 155, and that's fucking really hell on your body, man.
Yeah, people don't understand that part of it too. Unless like you've been a wrestler or somebody like that, you don't understand the hell. But you guys,
yeah.
That's the other thing I was going to ask you. Like as you're getting older, is it one of these things that are progressively just moving up into bigger weight classes, just so like you don't have to like kind of deplete your body to that point as you're getting older, just kind of concentrating on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like I just can't cut weight how I used to. Like I try to use the same tips and tricks that I would tell myself 5 years ago, and they just don't work, man. Like you just can't shed weight like you used to. And I said instead of doing that, I'm just gonna fight where I'm kind of sitting. You know what I mean? Like, so I just don't really cut as much weight anymore.
So you're thinking probably 95 is going to be closer to where you're going to be fighting at?
No, I'm fighting at 175, but I walk around about 190. So, that's
so if a fun matchup comes along, you're not going to say no.
Oh no, hell no. Yeah, hey, I'm shit anywhere between that number.
And that's one of the interesting things. And then you had another one last night was Christina Frieri. She's probably going to be the queen of bare knuckle boxing in next year.
Yeah, I met her because she was supposed to fight in the March card, and she's a super cool chick. But man, she is mean in there, son. Like it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, I remember when she was coming up doing Muay Thai with Lion Fight, and she had a couple Invicta fights, but like when this thing really blew up, and I seen she signed, I'm like, it's only a matter of time before she blows up. That she's the queen of bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah, I really think she'll be a big face for women's bare knuckle. I'm wondering if they're crazy enough to put her and Paige Van Zandt together.
Oh, come on, man. We know how Matt's making working promotions. They're going to keep them as far away from her, at least until the end of that contract.
Hey, Beauty versus the Beast, yo, for real.
Women bare knuckle boxing, you have my attention now. I might want to go attend this in person and see what it's all about.
Yeah,
all of a sudden intrigued. I'm very intrigued.
I'm telling you, Christina Fieri is freaking a monster.
Yeah,
and they recently just signed former UFC starlet Paige Van Zandt. Now, Paige is the epitome of your California girl, and she signed
she's a good fighter.
Yeah, she is. I'm not depleted. Listen, her looks has nothing to say that she can't throw her hands. We all know that.
Pretty. We're just saying.
She likes to fight, so I mean, it's gonna be fun to see what happens. But I say if it does, it's gonna happen at the end of that contract.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think like they kind of explained it. Like she'll fight once. I think because honestly, I feel like for her to get in there and talk about it, she's got to do it once. So I think that's kind of what the deal is. Like, hey, you have to do this once, and then we're gonna pay you just to be on the team. Like, so.
And who do you see her? I mean, I've been seeing a lot of posts from some of the kind of affiliated camps with bare knuckle boxing. Who would you possibly see her getting matched up with? Maybe the girl that lost to Christina last night. Maybe you see a matchup with a Callie Cutler, somebody of that ilk. What do you think?
As far as females.
Yeah, as far as matching up with Paige, anyways, that first fight.
I think Britain Hart is in her weight class. She's a good-looking female too, and I don't know who else, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's still one of these things where there's not a whole lot of in-depth, good female fighters, regardless if we're talking bare knuckle or we're talking about MMA. So it's kind of one of these sports that I kind of feel women's MMA is still about 5 to 10 years behind where men's MMA was about 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, for sure. 10 years ago, different times. We're talking about something, you know what I mean? Like the game.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about. If you look at the skill set now, like if we're talking about, fighters from, the Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture era, if you put them in this era now, I don't think a whole lot of them are very successful.
You're breaking up a little bit, but you're basically saying fighters from 10 years ago. I think what you're saying is they wouldn't be able to compete now.
They would be able to compete, but I don't think at the same level that they were back then.
Yeah, it's different. Like if you took those athletes and you put them into the training that we're doing today, yeah, they're just athletes. They're gonna adapt. They're gonna, do the same kind of shit. But I mean, a lot of them would. Some of them wouldn't. But obviously, if you took you just picked them up in a time machine, and you took Royce Gracie from UFC 1 or whatever UFC.
Yeah, that would be bad. I mean, I think
it wouldn't be a fight.
We've already seen that play out.
Right.
I mean, right. I think Matt Hughes did enough.
Yeah, basically. Like same with Matt Hughes though. Like Matt, like if you just picked him up in a time machine and he had to go fight. I don't know who's at 170. Damian Maia or fucking anybody. Who's the champ? Usman. He has to fight Usman. Like,
even the guys, even two of the guys fighting tonight, Tyron Woodley or Kobe Covington. I think both.
Right.
Just because they have way better stand up.
My boy wants to check.
Little man. We get another kid cameo this week.
Okay. Over there in the corner.
Don't worry, man. We Dawkins' kid did the same thing to us last week. He was like 2 or 3. Like I said, we're getting photobombed by our fighters kids again. So
I've got an interesting question for you. As a fighter, at any point, like, has their camp demanded that you ever shave the beard or something like that going into a fight because they think it might be a strategic advantage of some kind?
They would be fired immediately.
like, I'm not taking this fight. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Like you're not taking a fight of any kind.
Team, you're fucking cut. But,
okay, so there wasn't any maybes in there. That was a definite no.
I've had some rough weight cuts though, where like my teammates would be joking. They'll be like, "Just shave the beard, dude. Shave it. That's a pound."
I hear. Would you ever do a pre-fight bet to lose the beard?
Right. Shoot, I think at one fight, I can't remember the Bellator fighter's name, but he cut his dreads off to make weight.
Okay.
I forget who that was. It was for a title, wasn't it? I forget who that was.
I should know his name. Like I've met him 100 times.
Man, I can't think of it right now. Too. I think it was the kid that got in the car accident.
Got in a motorcycle wreck. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I've interviewed him too. This is even worse.
Oh.
I have pictures.
This is the problem. What happens when you get older?
Really bad, but I can't think of his name.
Was it Green?
No, it's not Green. You're thinking of Bobby Green.
No. Oh man, I'm gonna have to come up with this afterwards.
Hey, we'll figure it out at some point.
We've got another, hour and 10 minutes or so. We can figure it out in that time.
But Zach, you got anything else before we let him kind of enjoy the rest of his afternoon?
What's the, I talked about trying to go see all this bare knuckle stuff in person. What's the best way to, I know obviously right now there's probably very limited with the amount of people or anything like that and all that would be able to be there. But once everything kind of gets cleared up with that, what's the best way to go about getting tickets to it and trying to check it all out?
Man, hey, if it's within a couple hours drive.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
No, we're about to find out. This is important.
Can you hear me still?
Oh, we got you.
You're back now. We got you.
Oh, so yeah, someone was calling me. They're probably gonna call me back. So, but so here locally, here in Kansas, hit me up for tickets. I'm selling tickets for the event. Us fighters get a little commission when we sell some tickets. So, but I don't know where you live. Where do you live?
I'm in Florida. It's Tampa, something like that.
The show last night.
Well, I can't. This is relatively new stuff to me. I'm just hearing about all this. I got to. It's.
I'm gonna put it to you like this, Dave. I'm gonna put it to you like this. I'm kind of the expert here. These guys are absolute virgins when it comes to combat.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's all right. Well, go break your virginity.
I'm serious, Zach. I want to tell you this one. Before I got into media, I actually went to a couple MMA fights, and that's kind of what kind of turned me into it. MMA fights are way different than it's kind of that same energy level as like a football game. It's that same energy.
There's a lot of energy for sure.
And especially when you get on the local team, you got like your friends and relatives around, and things you get a lot on the local team too.
Especially when you got the walkout king entering the building.
Okay.
And that's another one. Zach, when you get done, go Google Dave's walkouts. It's cutting old, brother.
Okay.
When
I got you.
Dave's done fighting, he needs to go to pro wrestling for at least a year or two, just to give us some fun.
Yeah, for sure. It's on the table.
It's on the table.
Would that ever actually legitimately be like something like in your future if you ever decided I'm done with like actual, professional fighting, but you might still be interested in the showman side of it? Would you think about getting into pro wrestling? I'm assuming you probably know some guys in it.
Oh, I do know some guys in it, and I love it, man. Like, I love watching it, especially live. Like, I think wrestling is like really a live event. Like, I can really get into it when it's live. I don't watch it on TV just because you don't get the same experience. But doing it, yes, I do want to do it. Like, it's on my list.
Okay.
Even if it's a local show, I don't give a shit. I just want to do it.
Are you gonna go the Matt Riddle route, or are you like some of these other shows?
Go what route? What are you talking about?
Are you gonna go the Matt Riddle route? Gonna try to go to the WWE, or are you gonna go to some of these local shows?
I've got a few connections. I'd probably talk to some people and see what they think I should do first, to be honest. So.
Well,
it's a pretty big deal out there in the Midwest where you're at, right? I mean, you got a lot of big time independent promotions out there in the Midwest,
right?
There's a lot
of independent wrestling out here, so and like I said, I know a bunch of people that do it. So, yep.
But see, you're in the place. If you go and do that stuff, you could actually, because of doing shows like that, you could actually get fast tracked to actually be somebody who could actually have some fun from some of those bigger shows too.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely going to be interesting. I definitely keep us informed on that one. I definitely want to see.
I'll stone cold stunner the shit out of somebody.
Well, you know how I always wrap these things up, Dave. You know, kind of throw the microphone over you. Anyone you'd like to thank, give some love to, and you know, any charities you work with, anyone, you know, anything like that. The time is yours, brother.
I don't know. I just like to thank my sponsors. They know who they are. Hey, if you've been supporting me, I appreciate you. So that's it.
Well. Lastly, before we let you go, big thanks for me, Zach, everyone here at H&D for your time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, definitely have you back on. You know, after this come October.
No doubt. Peace.
All right, man. See you, Dave. All right, everyone. That was our guest this afternoon, Mr. David Caveman Rickles. He's going to be fighting bare knuckle boxing October 10th. You know, just outside of his hometown there in Kansas. So definitely make sure you're tuning in. If you're in the area, go get your tickets from him. Like he said, man, these fighters get some commission off of those ticket sales too, bro. And if not, make sure you download that bare knuckle boxing app because you know, you can check out the fight history they have already on there and stuff like that. And
I can't believe you embarrassed me like that, Steven. You could have told me there was a bare knuckle boxing event in my home, like right there in like my local area, and at least like updated me on what happened during it. So I couldn't sound, you know, I could have at least sounded somewhat like, oh yeah, I checked out that event. I know what you were talking about last night.
Hey man, you when we cover all sports, this is the things you have to tune into. I mean, we have to, we have to get all kinds of subscriptions for NFL stuff, and you know, if we're trying to watch this and that, we have to make sure we have everything. You know, I was just listening to Kicking Stateside. They have to go get some Peacock app so they can watch some of the stuff they have to do there. UFC, you know, you have the Fight Pass app, you have the ESPN Plus app you have to buy. I mean, everywhere you go is kind of a common thing where, regardless if you're covering a sport, you're a fan of a sport, you have to buy all these add-ons, man. And, you know, even like I said, even tonight, you know, we got, Bellator has a fight tonight. UFC has a fight tonight. You know, they got the first African-American female headline in a card tonight. She's going to be Angela Hill's going to be fighting the karate hottie, Michelle Waterson. That should be a fun fight.
Now you've got my like interest. Like if I got two bitches wailing on each other, like now I'm intrigued.
Bro, man, yeah, listen, I'm telling you, these. When it comes,
it's like Foxy Boxing back in the day. Remember Foxy Boxing?
And here's the funny thing: Michelle Waterson was actually on the Bully Beatdown show with crazy ass Mayhem Miller. So like it's fun. When you have what I like about MMA, they just have all these interesting characters. It's kind of like, you know, in wrestling, you know, you have the same sense. So they have similarities in that way. So if you like pro wrestling, to a sense, you should like MMA because in a sense it's the same thing except it's real.
Yeah, I mean, I'll casually watch MMA events and stuff. But no, my thing with MMA is like
it's gotten to a point
I can't get the pay-per-views, so it's hard to go watch any of the big time championship fights until after they've already had.
I got you, bro. Just let me know.
Dude, I'm gonna have to hit you up because I keep like I used to be, you know what, like back when I was a teenager, like in high school, it used to be so easy to Google all this shit and just find live streams and just stream it illegally whenever the fuck you wanted. I don't know what the fuck happened to that, but like I can't find shit anymore.
Yeah, they
locked
so
a lot of that. Hard to find that.
A lot of it down. I remember when MMA first blew up, it was just underground on like streams like you were talking about. That's what kind of blew up. And now here we are, you know, 20 years later, and it's you know one of the the top 5 biggest sports in the world. So, you know, it's another fun one, but we're gonna move on. We got football to talk about. We already had a little
Football,
tease. We had a little tease. Obviously, college football is back as well. For some select things going on here. We got NFL.
Hold on, let me ask you something, Steven. Does this sound like? Is this? This feels to me like the least hyped and just least intriguing, like, beginning to a college football season that I feel like I've felt in a long, long time. Like, it almost feels like we already know Trevor Lawrence is going to be the top pick next year. We already know who the 3 to 4 best teams are already going to be. Like, it's almost like we know what's going. Like, this whole thing. Like, we know. Like, I think Joe Burrow was such a good story last year, and the LSU team. It was such an awesome story that it's like it's so hard to top. I can't like somebody had to remind me today that it was like, oh yeah, college football started. Like, I completely forgot. Like, there was no like excitement and intrigue for me to be like, oh yeah, let me check out some of these college football games today. And that's so weird for me because I'm usually all over that. I don't know that maybe it's just me. I've got other shit going on or what the deal is, but it feels like this has been like the least hype start to a college football season that I can remember, like maybe ever.
You could say that in both ways, both the college football season, the NFL football season. And, I've even, if you've been listening to, our local talk radio shows here in the city, that's kind of a lot of the sentiment you're getting from their on-air personalities too, is either a couple things, at least here.
Listen to them.
The lack of the preseason, the COVID thing, I just think, mixed with the fact of the injury thing, I think it's kind of, it's kind of a lull right now. I think we're just kind of in a wait to kind of see approach thing, at least with the Eagles fans. I know I also think it has a lot to do with COVID, the fact that we can't go to the games, the fact that we can't really tailgate, the way that football fans really connect. And I think that is probably why it's not really as much talk about, we're not really supposed to be having, parties where we're having 25, 50 people on several TVs throughout the house watching the game.
Especially, and I'll say this, living down here in Florida in the South where college football, obviously, especially where I'm at. I mean, I'm in Lakeland, so I'm an hour from Tampa, about an hour from Orlando, and Gainesville isn't far from me either. I mean, there's a lot of big-time Florida Gators fans where I'm at, to the point where, like, every Saturday during college football season, I work at Wawa in the morning. They're all coming in for their beer, their ice, decked out in their gear. And they're all going to have their barbecue that day with probably, all of their Gator fans and, all of their friends that are, that are fans with them. That's what they do down here. Like, that's their Saturday afternoon. I wonder how much of that is going to change, too, because of all of this. Like, you no longer want to have 50 people over for a barbecue on a Saturday. Just because, and that, you talk about the tailgating aspect of it, that's similar, you're barbecuing at your house, same fucking difference, beers and burgers and all that are still flowing the same way they would at a tailgate. I didn't think of it like that, but you might have nailed that. That's a really good point, I think, as far as all of the social events that come with it.
If you look at both college, professional, whatever, even like I said, even here locally, I think it's kind of one of the main reasons that's not as hyped.
That's a good point. The social events that always come with it, and they're not taking place right now.
I haven't really been on TV as much. Like, even you look on you look on other streaming apps, you're starting to see advertising for it and stuff like that. So we're getting ready for it, but I just think there's just
it also doesn't help that a couple of different conferences initially canceled their college football season, and you're like, well, I guess we're not going to have college football this year. The Big Ten canceled is.
College is kind of in this weird situation, but I mean,
it was, yeah. It's not surprising to me, and I think this just kind of like it's going to get lost in everything else going on. But does this not just tell you how big of a business college football is in general? The two conferences that are going to say no, we are 100% playing a season this year is the NFL Light. Oh, I mean the SEC and and the ACC. I mean, pretty much look at the SEC and the ACC. I mean, if we're just being honest, I think, you could probably bring up these numbers to back it up. The numbers are out there somewhere. But those two conferences, like, without a doubt, have got to have the most, like, professional players that go on to become, like, the best pros, like, the top draft picks, the guys that go on to become, the best players. Always the SEC obviously has all those schools, but it seems like over the past 5 years to 10 years or so, the ACC's caught up a lot with Florida State and Clemson. Clemson especially has been there, the challenge a school like Alabama. It seems like those two conferences you're counting on every single year to be able to produce the best players, the best teams, and yada, yada. I'm not surprised that those are the two conferences that demanded, we're definitely going to play college football because that's where the most money's at. Of course you could. Could you imagine how much money all those schools lose if the SEC cancels their college football season? I mean, that literally funds every other fucking thing for those schools almost. When you think about how much money like Alabama's football program makes them, they couldn't afford, actually legitimately afford to cancel college football season. So I just think it's funny that it's not really going to matter, come down to the safety of all of it, and whether COVID or any thing like that. They were going to do everything they could to play college football in a conference like the SEC because they almost have to. It's that big of a moneymaker for them.
Yeah,
the Big Ten, did you see the Big Ten the other day said that they want to get back in now? They're trying to find every possible way to overturn their initial vote and now play a season because I guess they see the SEC and the ACC doing it.
Don needs our help. He says, fellas, he's got 3 fantasy quarterbacks. Who should I start? Kyler Murray versus the 49ers, Matt Ryan versus the Seahawks, or Big Ben versus the Giants?
Oh, Big Ben versus the Giants. Don't you have to think?
That shouldn't even be a question, Don. I mean, it's Big Ben versus the Giants. They
got the worst defense.
They've been having so many problems with that team. Wait, what? Oh, boy. Let me go check that one. Miles Sanders is out tomorrow?
Well, I know he was questionable, so I mean, I'm not surprised. That's not necessarily shocking. He had been confirmed as questionable all week, and they said they needed him. I remember I saw Wednesday. They said he was very limited Wednesday in practice, and they needed to see more from him Thursday and Friday in order for him to play. So I'm not shocked by it. Does it hurt a little bit? It hurts a little bit, but I'll say this: I trust we can beat Washington without him. And I'd much rather him not play against Washington and rest up and be healthy going forward.
Should help us kind of flex right into this because also you have to think that Lane is a game time decision as well.
He is, sure, but listen, if we can't.
And the other thing is Washington's defensive front is probably the strongest unit on that entire team.
It is, but if we hold on,
and it's definitely in the top 10 in the NFL.
It is, but let me ask you this: if we're just looking at this as Eagles fans, okay, Miles Sanders can be out and Lane Johnson can be out. If we can't beat the Dwayne Haskins-led Washington Redskins, even without those two guys, we probably shouldn't be having a playoff conversation to begin with. As far as how good is this football team really? You should take care of business against Washington without those two guys to begin with. If we're just being honest about this. They don't even know who their running back is going to be. They just released AP. They've got 3 different running backs. They have no idea who's going to carry the football for them. McCauley's a great receiver. I love that kid. But Dwayne Haskins, let's be honest, he's not good. I don't expect him to take that, people, he's going to, you got to see if quarterbacks take a huge step. I think I know what Dwayne Haskins is, and I think at some point Alex Smith takes over. So if I'm just using what my eyes and trust what my eyes are telling me, I don't think the Redskins are going to be good with Haskins. I think we should take care of business even without those two guys. And I would think I would be highly concerned about this football team and how good it really is if we couldn't. Agree or disagree, Stephen?
I mean, you're right, but at the same time, that has to be concerning with that front. Same, Zach, but you want him to hit the season run, and no pun intended. I want him to start this year. I was expecting 1,700.
I want him to start this year fast too, but that's what I'm saying.
So that better be total yards, Bobby. Total yards.
That's exactly what he's talking about. Okay. 1,800 total yards for him is actually probably, when you think about it, right around the ballpark you could predict. He's going to have probably just over 1,000 yards rushing, and he's going to be very active in the passing game. So I think the 1,800 yard number is solid. But if he would have missed Washington, then he's healthy starting next week. I'd much rather that than we play him while he's banged up at Washington and he continues to be banged up for a few more weeks going forward. Just let him rest this week and let him be healthy starting next week, and he can ball out for the final 15 games of the year. If I'm going to try to look at that, just with trying to use my best eyes. What's best for us as a football team is let him miss this week and let him be healthy the rest of the time, as opposed to having him play hurt for a few weeks to start the year.
I mean, I agree with that. You could probably hold things together, especially if Corey Clement is looking as good as we hear he is. But like I said, that's probably the other.
They'll probably activate one of the guys off the practice squad too. You'd have to think Michael Warren or Adrian Killens, one of the guys. Holyfield.
I would like Adrian Killens because I also think you should probably have him take the load off for
punt returns and things like that.
Kick return because you're probably going to have to use Clement more in the offense. So
okay, I'm okay with you. I'm with you there. The versatility, you like the versatility of him and his ability to do different things for you, which is solid. Now, I think Boston Scott might be very active in the return game too, and I think that's something they probably plan on. Because I think we all talked about we didn't want Miles Sanders in that role. I think that was something they maybe did last year because they had to. I think we've got enough guys this year with Rager, Hightower, Watkins, Killens, any of those guys.
Derek Barnett still questionable. Would you rather see Sweat kind of get
absolutely
snaps over him, especially because he's apparently looking really good this year?
I think Josh Sweat could have a breakout year if he gets enough reps. I mean, we have a lot of guys on that defensive front, and they always rotate, and we like being able to rotate the guys to keep them fresh. But in limited snaps last year, when you look at his production when he was on the field, the things that he did in the snaps that he played, that kid's got a chance to be a really, really good player in this league. I love the idea of giving him a lot more reps this year. And if a guy's banged up, like especially these first couple weeks of the year, there's no reason for me to need to play a guy that's banged up. Like without training camp and preseason and any of these off-season conditioning drills that you usually have, why would I want to risk any of that? A strained hamstring turns into a 6-week injury very, 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 very easily. A 1 to 2 week hamstring injury turns into a 6 to 8 week injury that quickly. So just let him rest, let him get healthy, and go with what you got. Get off to a little bit of a slow start, then okay, it is what it is.
But you already expect for them to kind of be more 60-40 with the pass run here. I
think our defense is probably gonna win us football games early. These first few weeks, we gotta expect our defense to play well, and because we're probably not going to go out and drop 40 points on anybody. But if you can win games 24-17, 21-17 in the first few weeks, that's probably realistic. It's probably not something to be concerned about, considering you've had so many limited off-season reps and stuff as an offense with a lot of new pieces.
Yeah, and you still have to be concerned with the matchup of the offensive line versus Washington's defensive line, and that'll probably
I'm with you.
On both sides. That'll probably be the matchup that wins it for whoever. You
could say the same thing about our defensive line against theirs. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, whoever defensive front plays better, whoever front seven is more effective, maybe. That could determine whoever's better in the trenches, if you want to use an old school football term, because a lot of those old school football fans, they love shit like that.
Bobby just pointed to it, the Washington's defensive is isn't that great. It's a pass piece at this point in time.
Yeah.
And
their secondary. Could you name one player in their secondary?
Rager is active. Deshaun is going to be on the field.
Rager being active is huge. I love Rager being active is big because that means you've got all of your receivers, 6 of them. Rager, Jackson, Hightower, Watkins, JJ Ortega, Whiteside, Ward, and you're going to be able to rotate all of them in. I think I'd like to see all of them get a little bit of playing time. I think Greg Ward's probably going to see the majority of the snaps because I think him and Carson probably have the best rapport between those guys.
Ralphie just informed me that Bennett is officially out for tomorrow, so it is just. Okay. I'm good with that.
I'm cool with that. Yeah, I'm cool with that. When you look at, I look at the first maybe 4 weeks of this season, and I look at it as anything could really happen. It's you'd like to see us obviously come out strong, but that's just not if we come out 2-2. I know there's going to be people that are going to be up in arms. There's going to be people that are what if we come out 1-2 like we did last year? There's going to be people that are all of a sudden. Pouring gasoline on the fire and immediately are, oh my God, what's wrong with this football team? And this year, more than any other year, we're just going to have to pump the brakes on that type of stuff. The first few weeks of this year, we're just going to have to let it be what it is.
I say it like this: after the first 4 weeks, we should either be 3-1 or it should be 2-2. It all depends on with what Ram team we're going to wind up getting. And,
yes.
You know,
and I think that Bengals game could be
the Bengals, but that Niner game is going to be a tough game. We already know that.
Realistically, and it should be. That's it. But you know what I like about that Niner game, and what I not just like, I love about that Niner game, and actually I love it about the Rams game too. You've got those games. Those are early tests, right? You're not playing like just scrubs early on. You've got two really good football teams. The 49ers, we know, are a really good football team. The Rams have a chance to be a really good football team, but you've got a chance to kind of see where you measure up with teams that are supposed to be considered good football teams in this conference.
Look at this
relatively
one. Bobby's got a bold one. He's like, I don't know one player in their secondary. You guys are the same.
I can name you one player in their secondary, Ronald Darby. He's going to be their number one starting cornerback, and that's the only reason we know him is because he played here.
Blowout. Nice.
It could be. Listen, their secondary is toast, and we have enough speed where it could be pretty fun to watch this offense try to expose their secondary down the field. I think realistically that's what they want this offense to become.
We just don't watch out for Terry McLaurin and the guy Sims Jr. I also heard looks pretty good, and he's probably going to be their slot guy too. So the matchup with him and Roby Coleman should be kind of one of the guys.
I'll take Roby until further notice. I'm taking Roby Coleman over every slot receiver we face this entire year until further notice. Because for my money, Nickell Roby-Coleman's the best slot corner in football. So I'll take him over, in any matchup that I have, until I see otherwise. Now, if he starts getting burnt and we're like, hey, this ain't the guy I thought he was going to be, we can revisit this conversation. But based on the guy he was with the Rams.
It reminded me they have Landon Collins too, but he stays healthy.
I don't know if he's necessarily a guy that, concerned. When you, a few years ago, you said Landon Collins, but oh man, yeah, got a game plan for him. He's a game changer. That guy's a game breaker. You tell me that now, and he could make a play to change the game. But I'm not necessarily as scared of him as I was a couple years back. To me, he doesn't really have that effect on me anymore. Their defensive line does. They've got some stud puppies on that defensive line. Not just talented guys, but they're young. They're athletic, and they'll come after you. They got that hunger, that killer instinct. So, I would expect that early on, especially with Lane or somebody like the possibility of him being out, maybe we pick our times to take our shots. But I'm thinking we see a lot of what we saw towards the end of last year with the quick passes, the screen passes, guys, Boston Scott and guys like that, trying to get the ball out quick to guys like Ertz and Goddard. Maybe be able to use guys like Rager and Jackson to your advantage on screen passes and quick routes, things like that.
I still think that we'll see at least 3 to 4 deep balls thrown by Carson tomorrow.
Oh, well, sure. But because you would hope that if you do everything else well from the game plan perspective, that those shots are there for you to take. You can work those shots in throughout the game and say, okay, hey, 2nd and 2, this is a beautiful time for us to take that shot. Let's play action and do something down the field here. And you should be able to work those plays in. You shouldn't have to force them in, is my point. I felt like last year at times, especially early in the year, we really tried to force big plays down the field in, to the offensive game plan, and it just wasn't there. Nelson Aguilar couldn't track a deep ball. You might as well have been tracking the deep ball. I would have rather him thrown it to you. You had a better chance of catching it. I mean, your hands might not be any good, but you might not be able to run a lick anymore. But goddamn, you could probably track that sucker over your shoulder better than that. You can probably track that sucker over your shoulder better than Nelson Aguilar. If you could get to the spot, you're gonna catch it. I trust you.
Speaking of Nelly, what do you see him doing in Oakland, and how do you see them doing this year?
Oh, he's gonna stink. He's gonna absolutely stink. First of all, you wonder why he's going to stink? Because he's mentally soft. And John Gruden, one thing I love about John Gruden is, John Gruden ain't going to sit here and sugarcoat something to you. John Gruden, John Gruden's the only guy that can tell you how much he likes you as a player while still, making you feel like he hates you at the same time. I can't tell if this guy's happy or mad about this. His facial expressions and everything else. That's not a coach to play for if you're mentally soft. Aguilar's problem is he's soft up here. Then John Gruden's going to eat him for lunch. Are you kidding me? He'll be cut by week 10. There's a reason they signed him $1 million deal. They're going to get out the first chance they can.
Don has the Eagles winning 28-17. Dallas Goedert with 2 touchdowns. Now, there's one.
28-17, I like that.
Who do you think is going to be the more targeted tight end Sunday? Is Dallas Goedert or Zach Ertz?
It's interesting. What's interesting is because, in years past, the easy answer would have been Ertz right away. But I really think, based on everything we've seen this offseason with the guys they drafted and everything they've got, that they want to try to do everything they can to spread the ball around a lot more. They don't want to have to, focus on Ertz as, the main pass options, Carson's safety blanket or security blanket, if you will. They want to be able to get the ball to Rager and Djax and Boston Scott and Sanders and all these other guys and also still get the ball to Ertz. So I think a lot of that depends on the coverage. I don't think they're going to force it to him, is my point, like they maybe have in years past. If he's double covered or, it's not there, I think it's very easy to say that Goddard could definitely have more catches and more targets.
Do you think Greg Ward will see more than 5 touches?
Yes, absolutely. I think he sees over 10 touches. I think Greg Ward has close to 10 catches.
I've been saying it. I want to see a trick play with Greg Ward. He has an arm. Use it.
Sure. Absolutely.
Like how they do the jet sweep, right? I do the jet sweep, but just have someone on the backside coming across the field for a big gain.
You could throw a backwards pass to him on a screen, backwards pass, and let him throw a deep ball down the field. There are a lot of different things you could do with him. But one thing I remember, I read about it quite a bit, and there was a lot about it, the relationship that him and Carson were really building this offseason. Greg Ward went out to Houston to work out with Carson and catch passes from him out there at his complex, at his house. There was talks. Carson was on the record of talking about how much he trusts Greg Ward now and how much they're on the same page and how much it seems like they're thinking the same as far as the way the offense is and all that. I think we could see Greg Ward have a big year. People might laugh at me when I say that. Oh my God, Greg Ward's going to have a big year. When Carson trusts somebody,
I think he'll probably have anywhere from 40 to 50 catches and anywhere from 700.
I think he's going to have more catches than that. I really do, because I think if
he has more catches than that, then we're having a problem because there are guys.
I disagree. I completely disagree. Because I think he's found a niche in this offense of what he can do best. He's a guy that you can line up in the slot. You can line up anywhere. He's going to find the soft spot in this defense. And I think one thing that we've seen with Carson is once you build a relationship with him where he trusts you in that way, he trusts you as a security blanket like that, he will find you a way to get, he'll find a way to get you the football. We've seen that with Ertz. From what I've read, it seems like they've got that type of relationship where Carson seems to trust Greg Ward that much. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got 60 to 80 catches and close to 1,000 yards just because he's a guy that they're trying to find a way to get the ball, 2 yards, across the line of scrimmage on little screen passes and then just let him run after the catch and things like that. But, listen, we're splitting hairs there. We just want him to be productive. Whether 40 to 50 catches is productive for you, 60 to 80 catches is something I think it doesn't matter. As long as he's being productive and he's doing what we need him to do in this offense, that's all that matters. But
we got a con here in the chat here from Mark Murray on YouTube. It says Washington is winning tomorrow. Sanders out, Lane might be out, defensive line is
listen, and that could happen.
Going to have trouble, and Chase is going to have 5 sacks.
Well, that might be a little exaggerated, but I'll say this.
Yeah, I'm not buying that one.
I think we've won 7 straight against the Redskins. Listen, week 1, fluky things always happen. Week 1, teams beat teams that have no business beating teams because you don't really know who each other is yet. You kind of
don't know anything about any one of these teams right now.
Exactly. That's how week 1 always is, and it's even more up in the air this year than any other year without any of the the preseason nonsense that you usually have. So I'm not going to sit here and say that we're going to lose. I think we should win this football game. But say we were to lose this game, I'm not going to sit here with you next Saturday, after losing this football game and be, acting like the world's coming to an end. Like it's not going to be that big of a deal to me. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be lining up to jump off the Ben Franklin immediately. And, they're going to be thinking, oh God, this football team's not going to be any good. But I know I said earlier, we should take care of business without those guys, and we should, but it's not one of those things where you need to panic if you lose this football game. That it's one of those things where, there are a lot of things that do play out. You talk about the defensive line. Say they do get a lot of pressure on us and it disrupts our offensive tempo. Okay, those things can happen. I'm not going to lose sleep if we were to lose this football game, but I do expect us to win.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I still see it's going to be like 31-21, something like that.
I think we could grind it out. I think it might be more of a grinded out type of victory, 21-17, something like that maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and Mark is back here. He's having fun with the chase, having 5 sacks. Do believe under Rivera is going to be much better. Play hard.
I agree, and I agree with that too.
I think that the Rivera is going to be a much different team here. But here's the thing: you guys have it. It's a new offense being implemented. Everything's new there.
It takes time to overhaul a culture.
Where the Eagles have all this, nothing's really changed. There wasn't a big changeover. There's a big changeover,
right.
And that's another reason why I have them winning this game. I know a lot of people are calling blowout. I don't really see that as a divisional game.
Right. Well, that's my point. People are going to like we're going to like grind out a 21-17 win, and people are going to be all up in arms because why didn't we win bigger? Why didn't we score more? And it's like all of that. You can already see all of that shit starting, and we haven't even had opening kickoff.
I think Washington will be a lot better than a lot of people think this year.
I agree.
Regardless how good or bad Dwayne Haskins plays, just because they have Rivera as the coach, just because they do have a nasty defensive front. And I think
Alex Smith could become their quarterback at some point.
I think that defensive front alone will probably win them 3 games this season alone.
Okay.
Without a doubt. I'm not going to sit there and say I don't see them being a contender for a top pick next season. I don't.
No, I'm with you there. I think they've got enough young talent on that team where, in all honesty, they have no business being a one of the worst teams in football with the Teddy McLaurin at wide receiver, Chase Young on that defense, a couple other stud puppies on that defensive line. I'm with you with Rivera.
Kerrigan too. He's still no one to forget about.
Okay, I'm with you there. I love Ron Rivera. For me, is a culture changer. He's a guy that's going to come in there.
We didn't get to retain him and keep him here, but like we still want to, with other situations, things happen here, but
if they could find a way to get Snyder out the door, and the NFL might just force him out anyway, but that whole situation could change. Like, I think Rivera is a culture changer. Now, that doesn't happen overnight. They're not just going to go from a losing organization to a winner overnight. But a guy like Ron Rivera could come in there and change that culture. And 3-4 years from now, all of a sudden, we're talking about them as one of our biggest challenges in the NFC East. I wouldn't be surprised by something like that.
Follow the show name here, Mark, and agree to disagree. I do not see a breakout year for Haskins. I don't.
No, I'm with you. I see him losing his job by week 6. I mean, me and you have had this conversation, Steve.
I really don't know if that you really want to put Alex Smith out there anyways. But I do see him.
Is he Rivera's guy?
I do see him progressing forward. I kind of just think it's kind of a restart from last year because it's a whole new system, whole new coach. So
I think with new regimes, like Haskins isn't Rivera's guy. He wasn't Rivera's guy. Rivera had nothing to do with drafting him. And I think it's one of those things, unless like Haskins comes out and balls out and shows something, wow, like this guy's got it early, Rivera's going to be like, we're going to go in the direction I want to go in, and we're going to bring in a guy in here that I want to be the quarterback. And it's just one of those things that you see happen quite a bit where, is it unfortunate? Yeah, maybe it's unfortunate, but they'll give up on a guy a little bit early just because of a regime change. And I don't think Rivera is going to take much time in deciding, is he the guy or not? Like, within 6 weeks, he'll determine, is this the guy I want to be my quarterback going forward, or am I going a different direction? We talked about last week, I wouldn't put Alex Smith out there right away because of the leg, and I don't trust this guy to be able to take shots and all that. Like, you need to really get hit and take a shot before you can trust that. But by week 6, I don't think there's any reason to think he wouldn't be healthy enough and comfortable enough to go out there and play if he's already been cleared for football activity, which he has been.
Yeah, but like I said, to start it off, I don't think you could take that job away from Dwayne Haskins.
No. They're going to give Haskins every chance to lose that job, just like Trubisky has in Chicago.
And, Murray, again, Rivera's going to give him 2 years and in this offense.
I doubt it.
When he had 50 touchdowns in with Ohio State.
He might get this year at the most. I could see him getting this whole year, and then they reevaluate then. But I just don't see it. I don't know what they see.
Like I said, even if they don't have a great year, as long as he's progressing forward, if he's not just Mr. One Read and try to get the ball out. So if you're doing if he's progressing forward, then yes, he will get 2 years. But if he's staying on the trend that he's on, then it's going to be a whole lot of what a lot of people seen before, that one reads and Bobby over here sitting there saying you do that with a guy like Roby Coleman, he's going to have a pick.
I think Daniel Jones has a much better chance of having a breakout year of the second-year quarterbacks. We already know Kyler Murray. He was Rookie of the Year last year. To me, we already know he's going to be a guy that's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. But
I think they're one of those teams that could sneak in and get that extra playoff spot.
Who are you talking about? The Cardinals?
Cardinals, yeah. You have the ageless wonder in Larry Fitzgerald who has more freaking tackles than he has drops in his NFL career.
And he's got more like he doesn't have to worry about being a guy that has he can just chill now. He's a veteran leader on that team.
Now they got D-Hop. Now you have D-Hop.
And tell me a guy like Larry Fitzgerald, knowing who he is as a person, tell me he doesn't love the idea of having a DeAndre Hopkins to be able to mentor and try to turn into hey kid, you're already fucking phenomenal. You're already one of the best receivers in football. But hey, stick with me and I'm going to turn you into an all-time great type of thing. I think he's digging the idea of having a guy like Hopkins there that he can mentor and kind of take under his wing and kind of teach all the secrets of the trade that he's learned.
Hopkins was I get to pick the old man's brain to see how I can officially become the best receiver of all time.
It's like that. I think Larry Fitz, knowing his personality, he's loving that role. He's like, hell, I don't have to catch a pass all year if I just get to be this guy and be that mentor. But they've got all types of offensive weapons. D-Hop and Kenyon Drake, and they've got multiple running backs. They've got tight ends. That offense should be filthy. It should be one of the better offenses in all of football.
And having Bruce Arians there and that defense isn't like a bottom feeder defense.
Arians isn't there anymore.
I thought it was.
Arians is in Tampa. Where
did I go with that?
I don't know. I know. Hey, no, they brought in a dude from Texas Tech last year.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which everybody laughed at, but now we're looking at it and saying, hey, all of a sudden they're looking like they're going in a really, really solid direction. So
they still have to go out there and prove it this year. They made some nice moves in the offseason.
They did, but you know what? If you watched their games last year, which I know you saw, a lot of their shit, it was hard to miss it. I mean, I watched them 2 years ago, and they looked overmatched. They just looked like a football team that was overmatched, outcoached every week. Last year, they did not look that way. They looked like they were, a team that talent-wise wasn't where they needed to be, but they were hanging in there, throwing haymakers with the heavyweight fighters, for all 60 minutes. You know what I mean? That they were a team that was going to try to be in a football game until the very last second. I think that's what you love to see, and that's every winning football team has that quality about them.
I mean, I think Seattle's one of these teams that a lot of people are overestimating, along with the Saints. I think. They're gonna take a small step back this year.
You think the Saints and the Seahawks both take a step back?
I mean, I do. I mean, I think the Clowney signing for Seattle is them trying to ensure that they stay in that relevancy hunt for that team. That division is freaking insane.
Well, they also traded for Jamal Adams.
Yeah, I get that. But I get that.
That team is. I could see New Orleans taking a step back. I'm definitely where I think New Orleans and Green Bay take a step back. I think the Rams could win 8 games at the most if if things don't play out.
But see, they're the kind of the one that you don't know because they've been so up and down.
They could win 12. They could win 7. You have no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the league has figured out Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is what he is, and I think there's no way to make him better than what he is currently.
And then we also. We also have to remember, that division's insane.
Yeah. He's right. Clowney went to the Titans. You're all fucked up over here. They traded for Jamal Adams, and Clowney went to the Titans. So, I mean.
Again, getting old, man.
Too many shots to the head, too many Jaeger bombs,
Well, yeah, definitely too many Jaeger bombs. We'll get back into that.
Yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves. See, we're trying to talk so much football. We're on football overdrive, Steven. We're so hyped for it. How about let's talk about the Thursday night game a little bit.
We got another one coming back from the from the poll question. He agreed. Once the Phils get into the playoffs, that they're going to win. They're going with a 9-man stable bullpen. will be non-existent. Nola Wheeler, Arrieta, Eflin, Howard, Parker, Velasquez, Neris starting.
Half those guys, Parker, Velasquez, Alvarez, and Neris fucking stink. So what the fuck do they do any good for you? They fucking stink. Like they're trash cans. Like literally fucking suck. The bullpen pitcher might as well be fucking throwing to the other team. They're fucking out of here with that nonsense. No, but let's touch a little bit though on the Thursday night game, just because I think we talked a little bit. We talked about DeAndre Hopkins with Arizona, and one of the things we talked about with Deshaun Watson coming into this year, we were really interested about was how good was he and that offense going to look without DeAndre Hopkins. And I think it was safe to say that offense is hurting without, like, they are, if anything, Thursday, I think they realized, oh shit,
I don't even think
we need to figure something out in a hurry because they need a playmaker. Will Fuller and those guys aren't cutting.
They don't score 20 points next week. They don't.
No, and I almost feel bad for Deshaun Watson because I think I really think he's a bona fide superstar. But my point with Watson's always been is these people, and I love him, but people try to, he's a top 3, top 4 quarterback in football. And then they'll have Carson Wentz as like 12th. And you look at their numbers and you're like, their numbers are like, Carson's actually numbers are slightly better, yet he never seems to get the respect Deshaun does. And Watson's had DeAndre Hopkins for his entire career. So it's like I'm almost wanting that Texans offense to like kind of not look good this year, just despite all those people that like, it's like
point because they paid him for Cooks
and David Johnson. And David Johnson, who I guess he looked good Thursday night at least in the first quarter he looked okay. But I mean, think about you traded DeAndre Hopkins and the two best things you get back are Brandon Cooks and David Johnson. Like what the fuck? You got a the first round pick doesn't even do much for you because Houston's going to be a good enough football team where that first round pick doesn't fucking help.
So are they above 7 or under 7 wins? The Texans.
The Texans? Can I call it a wash? Can I go right at 7?
Yeah, you can say it a wash.
I actually like 7. I think 7's the perfect number for Houston. I mean, unless because I think everybody's been in agreement.
Right now, like literally, the last piece you got to do anything over there is get rid of J.J. Watt and put him somewhere where he could win. Go send him the Pistons.
Will somebody actually give you anything like with J.J. Watt's contract and all that? Will they be like, yeah, here's a superstar wide receiver?
I mean, he's an animal. Don't get me wrong, but it's literally the last piece they have left.
Yeah, but he's hurt every year now too.
Format of just a fire sale,
Well, yeah. But that fire sale start with the firing of Bill O'Brien, and I think part of it, they touched on it on Thursday night in the broadcast where they said the Texans made the decision that they couldn't afford to pay DeAndre Hopkins $20 million a year and also pay Deshaun Watson $20+ million a year. So. They had to decide one of the two. Obviously you're not going to get rid of Watson, so you had no choice. They had to trade Hopkins, and I found it interesting that one of the things that they brought up, and I thought it was actually a really good point. And I hate to give the national guys any credit because I think a lot of them suck, but they said when you think about the Hopkins trade, is that contract with Hopkins? It was so it's such a hampering contract to a team that the only teams that were even in the sweepstakes to trade for him were teams like the Cardinals that have a quarterback on a rookie contract, because any team that has a quarterback locked down to franchise quarterback money can't afford to go out and trade for a wide receiver that's making that type of money on top of trying to extend them, which is what the Cardinals just did. So it's like, the Cardinals are the perfect team to do it.
Team is so important to get the most out of them on them deals.
Exactly. It's you nail it, and that's why we rip Howie constantly for not being able to draft. And hopefully, now I thought about this after last week's show because this could get interesting. Say this year's draft class actually hits. Say Rager becomes a bona fide stud in this league. When I watch his film, he looks like D-Jax and Jeremy Maclin mixed together. Like, at the very least, that's what he looks like to me as a player. There was times on film he looked like Steve Smith to me from the Panthers, and I was like, wow, if he could be anything close to that guy, well, hell, we what a pick that is, Obviously, you're never expecting a guy to be a Hall of Famer, but if you can, if a guy can be a bona fide stud in the league and not just a guy, you hit on that pick. If one of these other guys, Hightower or Watkins, one of those speed guys. If you hit on one of them and they become something for you, all of a sudden them being productive in any way, them being any type of guy for you is something because they were late round picks. So this draft does have a chance to be the draft that maybe saves Howie's job per se. If these guys if JJ Ortega-Whiteside,
Sharif Miller's already gone, so.
Yeah, if JJ Ortega-Whiteside were to take a step forward this year. Now, I'm going to go on the record as this. I'm going to go on the record. I know you love when I do that. Last week, you put me on the record with the Cleveland Browns thing. So I guess I have to be on the record. The Cleveland Browns will win more football games this year than the Tennessee Titans. That's already on the record, correct? You put that on the record last week. You put that on the record last week when I said it. So now there's no choice. So now there's no choice. But yeah, I'll go on the record as saying I think JJ Ortega-Whiteside he takes a huge step forward this year and actually becomes a legitimate NFL wide receiver. Looks a lot like a guy that, okay, hey, this is a guy that's going to be on offense and make an impact for a long time. I think we all we had a horrible rookie year. We all got off the bandwagon really quickly, but I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. He's going to have a really, really solid sophomore year, and he's going to take a huge step forward and going to look like a really good player in this league, or a really solid player at least in this league. So there were a couple of things. As much as we're in agreement about Howie right now, I'm obviously not going to root for any of these players. I'm not going to root for Rager to fail just so Howie can get fired. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see these guys work out. So, hopefully if these guys work out, maybe this conversation changes a little bit by the end of the year, because we can be talking about having some young studs on this roster, which we desperately need, because with our cap situation next year, we almost need JJ Ortega-Whiteside to work out, don't we? Like, we almost need him to become that guy. Yeah. Just because of how bad our cap situation is next year.
He's wrong with JJ too, because we're hearing a lot of stuff coming out of camp that he looks like the guy they drafted. He's not the speed guy; he's the possession guy. So we'll see how.
Well, yeah, Howie said all that, and I don't trust Howie as far as I can throw him, which isn't very far. But yeah. I will trust. Yeah. I will trust the reports that I've read from the team, from other Eagles people, the players that have been like, hey, other players great players recognize other great players. You know what I mean? And we're like, hey, who's really, really had a good camp is this guy. Yeah, when another player says that, I tend to listen a little bit more, and I've heard plenty of noise, as a good word that Parker used there, Spidey used there. I've heard plenty of noise outside of just what Howie said to make me feel at least comfortable that JJ is going to give us something this year. I don't think he's going to become, I'm not saying he becomes a bona fide number one and he's a superstar, but I think he becomes something for us. We all of a sudden see a guy that's okay. He's a guy that could be a player for us. And then Rager hopefully becomes a guy where hey, here's a guy that's another player for us. This kid maybe could be a stud. And now you're looking at it and say we've got two young guys to build around at the wide receiver position, maybe three with Greg Ward being what he is. And now you don't look so bad at that position where, hell, last year we were pulling guys off the streets, and that becomes a massive turnaround. I mean, that's actually a pretty impressive turnaround if by the end of the year we can look at this wide receiver core and say we've got three guys we feel really, really comfortable with rolling forward.
Yeah, Don, I'm going under. Jalen Hurts 5 touchdowns this season.
He's going under Jalen Hurts 5 touchdowns this season.
I am. He's at over under. Jalen Hurts 5 touchdowns this season.
I mean, it would kind of be hard to go over, wouldn't it? I would have to go under.
That's way more than that. We in trouble.
I think anything more than that means that Carson got hurt at some point, and Jalen became your quarterback. This is what I think Jalen rolls. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a role with us, but I think what his role is going to be. I see too many people talking about him playing in the red zone. Carson Wentz is one of the best red zone quarterbacks in football. You're not taking Carson Wentz off the field in the red zone. You're just not. That's silly talk. That's just nonsense. But we do love to go for it on 4th down and short, almost more than any team in football. On 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, 4th and 1, situations like that, I think we're going to see Jalen Hurts on the field a ton, because I think him being on the field in that situation gives you a lot more options of what you can do to convert that first down than maybe Carson being on the field for you there. And I don't feel like you're hurting the football team by taking Carson off the field in the red zone. But on 4th and 2, I mean, I don't feel like I'm hurting the football team by taking Carson off the field and saying, hey, we've got a play drawn up that we want, that's drawn up for Jalen here. Let's go run it. Like, you know what I mean? If you're finding the right situations to work Jalen Hurts into the offense with actual design plays and not just winging it, I think he can find a role. But him scoring 5 touchdowns, that's a stretch. I see him being more of a guy that's going to convert a lot of big third downs or something like that for us, and maybe getting some garbage time reps.
Listen, and Mike doesn't really like the idea of gadget plays to get him on the field, but I don't really think they're gadget plays. Just like I think
that's creative.
Situational football where it makes sense to put them in.
I mean, I look at the best offenses in football. If whatever you could consider it a gadget play if you want, Spidey, but Kansas City runs those types of plays. San Francisco runs those types of plays. Seattle runs those types of plays. The best offenses in footballs are the ones that are able to get the ones that are able to get the most creative. And we desperately need to get more creative. That was something that killed us last year. Now it really helped us during our Super Bowl year. I think you could say our offense was actually very, very creative during our Super Bowl year. You had the Philly special and shit like that. But even outside of that, when you looked at I looked at the play calling last year, and a lot of it was very vanilla to me. Like, it's like, okay, this is very predictable, very vanilla. You just can't get creative because you don't really have the personnel to get creative with. But the Super Bowl year was a year where you got creative with the guys that you had, and we were a hard offense to predict that year. We were a hard offense to game plan for. We need to get back to that, and that's why I love what we did with all the speed and all the versatility that we have. There's a lot of different, ways you can work the ball in the guy's hands. And if you can do that as an offense, we've seen this in today's NFL, those are the offenses that are the most dangerous because they're hard. You can't game plan against them. If you can find 5 different ways to get Jalen Reagor 10 touches in a game, you know what I mean? Like, think about how hard it is, 5 different ways to get him touches on offense. Throwing the ball to the field, down the field to him, throwing screen passes to him, lining him up in the backfield, lining him up in the slot. Send him in motion. Different things like that. I mean, there's different things you can do as an offense that I think when you look at this personnel, I get really excited about the potential of this offense. I don't know if it's going to come to fruition and we're going to execute, the way that we need to, but I look at the potential of what this offense can be, and I'm excited about it. And I think everybody should be excited about it. There's speed and there's athletes, elite athletes all over the field on this offense. Is there not?
I agree. There's a lot of speed. They have to stay healthy. They have to keep them guys on the field. And I think, if everything works out with, not really having too much problem with the offensive line, regardless of who's playing, who's not, that if they can get it, they could very well be a top 10 offense in the NFL, maybe even more.
If we get the production out of Miles Sanders that realistically we probably should. We talked about the 1,600 to 1,800 number of total yards. I think that's a really realistic number. Just over 1,000 rushing, and then he's going to be really active in the passing game. So another 600 to 800 receiving. That's not unrealistic. Alvin Kamara, McCaffrey, all those guys, and you look at he's going to be one of the top running backs, 2-way running backs in football this year as far as rushing and receiving.
I also think that we have that with a lot of those guys. I think Boston Scott's still a guy that could do that.
Correct. I'm with you.
Still a guy that could do each one of the running backs they have on it could be that guy.
They can catch the ball out of the backfield.
They're just literally made out of a different mold.
Yeah. And so when I look at just that alone, I mean, that type of – if you've got a running back that's giving – if Miles Sanders if he's top 3 in total yards at the running back position, I mean, that right there alone means you're already an offense that you're really, really productive just by those by having that good of a running game alone. There's no reason to think you take that running game and then everything you can do with the passing game off of that running game. The things that having a running game like that is able to set up with this passing game with the elite speed that we have on the field. I mean, we should be by the end of the year. I don't want to, I don't want to say it's going to happen right away. This is what I was talking about earlier, where I could see our offense maybe getting off to a slow start. But by week 8, week 10, week 12, when we get into that stretch drive heading towards the playoffs, I think, and I fully expect us to have one of the most explosive offenses in football. I think that's what we're looking for. We want to be able to beat you down the field, with quick strikes and be able to score within a couple minutes if we have to. Think about last year. If we needed to go score a touchdown within 3 minutes, we probably couldn't do it. We just didn't have the big play threats and the ability to drive down the field and have quick strikes like that.
That's the big thing, that why Reagor has to be effective, why Deshaun has to stay healthy. Just the fact that him on the field makes the defense play play this offense differently. Mm-hmm. And if you can get AJ back on the field and get him being productive along with JJ and Ward, it could be very different, very, very dangerous.
It's kind of one of those years where it kind of scares you a little bit because, things, this is a team that could win 12 or 13 games, or it's a team that, like, if things were to blow up and, all those guys that we tried, the Ragers and Djax, and they all seem, Djax gets hurt again, and Ragers banged up and never seems to be healthy the whole year, and JJ never takes a step forward, and Greg Ward's the only receiver that we can actually count on the whole year, just like it was last year. And we're back to having him and Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz as the three guys we throw the football to. We could win 8 or 9 games again, or we could be one of the best teams in football. But I always want to try to be like, I hate being the negative guy because I feel like there's way too much negative in this city. That's why the Negadelphia term that we get, it's legit. We get it for a reason. If I'm going to pick, I'm never going to be the negative guy. I'm going to try to be as positive as possible. This team, this offense excites me. I'm sorry if I sound like a middle school kid seeing boobies for the first time, but it excites me. When was the last time an Eagles offense had this much speed, this much athleticism? Guys that could stretch the field, and you were like, ooh, like this is exciting. We're going to be explosive. I can't. We had to go back to those Donovan offenses with T.O. and guys like that, right? I mean, maybe Chip Kelly in that first couple years where it seemed like we ran more plays than anybody in football. But I hate to even bring up the Chip Kelly era because it brings back so many bad memories, right? But it's just been a while for us to be able to say that about this offense. We've been an offense that kind of grinds things out for way too long now, and we finally have a chance to be an offense that's explosive. That excites me.
We're less than 24 hours from finding out what it's actually going to be. I'm with you. I think they're more of a 10 to 11 win team, but we'll see.
Yeah, I actually love that number there. I love the 10-win number that you put out there because I think you're still going to be competitive, obviously, with the NFC East being what it is. If we think Washington takes a little bit of a step forward, the Giants could even take a little bit of a step forward. I think Daniel Jones takes a step forward. I'm still not sold on Joe Judge. We talked about some of the shit he did last week. He seems like a guy that coaches a high school varsity team to me. Do you see what he did the other day? Do you see the video they put out with the fumble, the fumble Ruski and the mud and shit like that, and he dove on it and they poured the water. It's just it's like Remember the Titans type shit. You know what I mean? It's like high school varsity blue, it's varsity blues, and it's got those types of vibes to it for me. Blue Mountain State, name any cheesy, football show that you can remember. It almost has those types of vibes.
You said Blue Mountain State.
Think about he reminds me of the parent that wants to be his kid's friend as opposed to actually being a kid's parent. Joe Judge, to me, I wouldn't be shocked if that team's a dumpster fire almost because he's not taken seriously enough by the players on that team. You got grown men that look at this guy what the fuck is this dude doing? You know what I mean? He's making people run laps in practice because they didn't do something right. What are we, fucking 7 again? Are you kidding me? Is this Pop Warner football or am I in the NFL? I'm sorry. I'd rather you grab me by my face mask and chew my ass the fuck out because I'm a grown man and I can handle that than let's be childish and you're going to run to that light pole and come back. The fuck I am. Who the fuck are you? You go run to the light pole and come back. I'm just saying, if I was a grown man playing football making millions of dollars a year, the last thing I'm going to respond to is a coach that's telling me to go run some laps or go run to a light pole and come back. Are you kidding me right now? That just sounds so ridiculous. So, I don't know. I think we're going to be a competitive division, but I actually think the Giants could be, or I think the Redskins could be slightly better than the Giants.
Yeah. We'll see how it all winds up playing out, but we're going to get ready to kind of wind down here.
We got to wind down, but what? We were having so much fun, Steven. We were bringing the people what they wanted.
Yeah.
Entertainment.
I mean, that's how it is here at A2D, man. We could talk for hours, days, never end.
Dude, we're the most entertaining duo on TV. Oh, wait, we're not on TV, are we?
You never know. Never know what the future holds, brother. You never know.
We were talking about we needed a nickname. Have you came up with one yet?
What happened? Our tag team name? No.
Yeah, we were talking. We needed a tag team name. Maybe the listeners at home can help us, but we got to come up with some type of tag team. We were talking like the Rock and Roll Express, or the Rock and Sock Connection. Badass. Remember the Heart Foundation. We got to have something that is our own personal thing.
I kind of bring a wrestling feel to the program.
You kind of give me a Macho Man Randy Savage type feel. We gotta come up with something. I feel like you're the guy that does a good Macho Man Randy Savage impression or something.
Ted's got Zach and Shell.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I understand that one. Dueling beards.
Last few letters of my last name were your first name.
I'm not digging it. I'm not digging it.
I'm damn, brother. And I'm the one that's forgetting everything.
Yeah, I'm not digging it.
But real quick before we wrap it up, just want to remind everyone doing the giveaway on Twitter Monday for the signed Jaworski card. And just head over to Weekly Roundup's Twitter. I'll probably put out another tweet tomorrow to remind everyone about it. Just follow Weekly Roundup, follow the Jaws youth account, subscribe on Twitter, screenshot the subscription on the tweet. I'll pick a random winner.
A random winner now. Am I allowed to subscribe and become the random winner?
Hey, you don't have. I thought you did have Twitter. What are you doing?
You told me to create a new one, so I might just create one for the purpose.
All right. Well.
I might just create one for the purpose of registering for this event, registering for this for this giveaway, and then if I win. And you don't, and I don't win the Ron Jaworski autograph simply because of my relationship with A2D. We will have
I'm not sure how much the card's worth, Mike. I had him sign a jersey for me, threw an extra card in there. I'm just giving it back to the people, man.
What's the card worth? $350. You know what? I feel like there's an inside joke in there that is going to get us in a lot of trouble.
Anyone who knows.
We're going to be getting in a lot. I didn't want to bring it up. See, if I knew that was allowed, I would have been the smart ass that went in that direction. But since we went there, I thought Jaws was supposed to be coming on the show, Steven.
There it is.
Supposed to be coming on the show.
There it is, right there, brother. Bearded Beer Bros.
I love it. Yes. The Bearded Beer Brothers. Absolutely. It's similar to Beer Money Incorporated. It's like a combination of Beer Money Incorporated and what was JBL's tag team back in the day with Farouk, the APA or whatever, with Ron Simmons. It's a combination of Beer Money and the APA.
They had a combined weight of 200 pounds. The Athletic Jobbers. Really?
Bearded Beer Brothers. I love it.
Nah, I'm gonna stick with the Bearded Beer Brothers.
It's awesome. All right, we have a winner.
There's mine and Zach's tag team nickname. But before we wrap it up, real quick, give our sponsor some love and give Dr. Paul Vidal some love there. Physical Therapy LLC, Burlington, Cherry Hill, Princeton location. Find them there on the web. Specialized physicaltherapy.com. Zach, always a pleasure, brother. We'll be back next week. Got some things in the works with some potential guys.
More shenanigans, right?
Going to be breaking down some more fights too. Getting Zach more in tune with the combat sports era here, and
especially the women. I mean, the women fighting is really.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I already know there's one in Florida that you'll definitely dig. She's called Jessica the Black Widow Borga. She's awesome.
I tell you, women fighting.
It's pretty funny.
Two women fighting, that'll put some lead in your pencil every single time. Every time.
All right, Zach. Well, that's another one here over at the Weekly Roundup. I'm Steve Reichel. That's Zach Burr. We'll see you next Saturday, guys.
More shenanigans next week. Thanks for watching.